Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. This is News Check, in case you're just joining us. Today we are unpacking some of the issues that are shaping conversation in the country. It's Super Tuesday, as some have baptized it to be. The reason this is called Super Tuesday is because in this coming week and in the next few days, several county assemblies are going to debate and vote for or against the BBI bill. That is how it's popularly known, but we're talking about the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill of 2020. So far, 11 counties have given it a green light, and the rest is just wait and see. One county only, that is Baringo County, has voted no for the bill. So we are just unpacking this bill and sort of painting a picture on what lies ahead on the road to referendum. That is what we are doing this morning, and other issues, of course. And I'm doing this with a panel of three gentlemen. Honorable Jayendra Malde, the MCA for Parklands Ward, and of course we are also having in studio this morning Fred Okango, the Secretary General of Thirdway Alliance Party, and of course we're also having Simon Kamau, a legal expert. Thank you so much, Simon and Fred and Jayendra, for creating time for us. Now, before we went to that break, Simon, I wanted us to understand what lies ahead on the road to the referendum, because after this process, then what next? In the event it gets a majority of counties pass it, at least 24 counties, what next? And if it happens that it doesn't go the way proponents of the BBI believe it should, what happens?
Yeah, thank you very much, Serfine. And as we are moving on with this discussion, I'm just following up on what's happening outside there. And as we said, it's going to be a terrific Tuesday. I can confirm that Makueni, Mombasa, and Nakuru have already approved the bill as we continue.
Today?
Yes, this morning as we proceed. So the moment the bill meets the constitutional threshold of 24 counties, this is clearly stipulated in Article 257, Clause 1 all the way to Clause 11. The process is very clear there, whereby the law expects that the speakers of the individual particular county assemblies will now communicate to the Speaker of Parliament that my county has given this decision, approved or rejected. And the moment the threshold is met, then the Parliament will also have a sitting to debate the bill, and after that the law clearly stipulates in 257(9) that this one should be now subjected to a referendum and thereafter for presidential assent. So as we are discussing here, let Kenyans appreciate that this is not just an event. It's not a one-day affair. It's a long legal process rather, with the, as Fred is saying, with a lot of political backing. So after that, we will expect to see a referendum, whereby then a question will be put to the public out there, so that they will give the final decision on the proposed bill, so that thereafter then it can become part and parcel of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. So it's rather a complex kind of a legal process that you cannot just explain here. But the good thing is that public participation has taken place. People have been taught, they have been explained to understand what is happening and what is expected of them. So the good thing is that our population now is enlightened, and with the local FM stations and what we are doing here, people are able to understand what is happening and what is their take and what is expected of them. So I think going forward, what we should see is a process that, as the President has kept on saying now and then, will be more inclusive, because there has been an issue of some people feeling that they belong more, or others belong more in this nation than the others. For example, if you look at the structure of government today, we only have the president and the deputy as the politicians calling the shots. And in our politics, which are highly ethnicized, you find some people feeling that we don't belong as much. But with an expanded executive, you will find that more communities, more ethnicities will represent the people at the top. And that brings harmony. And this is what the president has been saying. We want everybody to feel part and parcel of this nation, part and parcel of building and laying the blocks to the future of this country. So just to finish my point. So the issue here is the bill, on top of what Fred and Mheshimiwa here is saying, is going to make more Kenyans feel we are part of this republic, we are part of this government, okay? We are going to have probably someone from the Western region heading government, another one from Coast deputizing them, another one from the Eastern being probably the Prime Minister or whatever, and that brings harmony and probably a cure.
Are you sure that will happen though? Because we'll still go to the sub-clans and even sorry for using this example, but in the Western region, you'll still hear talks of which clan is this, which clan is that, because yes, we're talking about tribes, but must my person be there? Somebody from my tribe be there for me to feel included in the leadership?
We must appreciate our politics and where we have come from since independence. And we are different. The white man just came and got these different nations and put them together and called them Kenya. Because you find that when I talk of nations, I don't want to use the word tribes, but these are different nations, and they were put together and they were made to conglomerate and become something called Kenya. So we must appreciate, if we are to move forward together in unison, we must appreciate that first and foremost, we belong to our individual nations, to our indigenous nations, and then to the larger community that we are calling Kenya. And for example, if you go to Europe, you will find that they are very small, very minute states. I want to believe that, for example, the Nyanza in itself would qualify to be a state if in Europe. States like Switzerland, they just have 5 million people, 6 million people, 11 million people, very, very small. So these are small units that were brought together by the colonial master and were made to submit and become Kenya. So if we can first start from there and appreciate, and I believe this is what the president is doing, and appreciate that first and foremost, I'm a Kenyan who is a Kikuyu, I'm a Kenyan who is a Luo, I'm a Kenyan who is a Luya, then we can use this ethnicity and diversity for the good of our republic and not for negative purposes for that matter.
I wish and I dream for that day to come.
Yeah.
Fred, very quickly he has tried to simplify the road to the referendum, but there are talks that it's around June, proposal that it should take place around June. Can all that happen within this time frame? And for those who may be saying that we could not be, at this particular moment, we are not financially able to do that based on the pandemic that you're currently facing, we may not be able to finance that it is not priority, BBI is ill-timed, it can wait for another time. What do you say about that?
Constitutional Amendment of Kenya 2010 cannot wait any longer. Delaying it, you are delaying the achievement of two-thirds gender. Delaying it, you are delaying the development in the world that we need most. Delaying it, you are delaying the achievement of the principle of equality of vote, where people are underrepresented. But let me ask a question. Road to referendum. I just need to add something to what someone has said. The moment this bill receives majority approval from the county assemblies, that is 24 plus, then this bill will be introduced into parliament without a delay. That is the provision of law in Article 257, sub-Article 7. Parliament, there is no timeline to debate it, but it is approximated that they will also look at it and consider it immediately. Then that bill should go to the referendum, whether they approve it or not. But why is this bill going to the referendum? That's the question that Kenyans are asking. What makes it go to the referendum? In this amendment process, the final public participation will be done at the vote, the plebiscite vote at the referendum. Now, this bill, first of all, I have answered you and said, it must be passed like yesterday, because any time you delay it, you are delaying our suffering. Anytime you delay it, you are denying Kenyans jobs, the young people. Anytime you are delaying the rights of people as provided for in the amendment of Article 31. Okay? So you cannot delay it any further. Now, is it the right time? Yes, it is the right time. Why is it going to the referendum? It is going to the referendum because the provisions of this bill affects what are enumerated in Article 255 that require the people to have a say. This bill affects the structure of devolution. It affects the structure of devolution to the extent that we are now trying and bringing it closer to the people by introducing or establishing World Development Fund that we don't have currently. This bill increases the allocation from at least 15% to 35%, so that everyone can now start seeing the fruits of devolution, development, and involvement. This bill also now identifies private data as part of emerging area of Bill of Rights, and therefore the rights to privacy have now been incorporated. It must go to the people. This bill introduces the Office of Judiciary Ombudsman, who shall be the link between the public and the judiciary, to strengthen the judiciary so that they can take action on complaints made against the judicial officers, but not interfere with the court cases, opening the closed one, or looking at what is going to be discussed. They will not do that. And they have to give report to the parliament annually and regularly to JSC. This bill requires that. That proposal requires that it must go to the people. There is also...
Can we fund it? Can't it wait for...
Now I'm going there.
People saying maybe we can do the referendum alongside the 2020 general elections to save cost.
Let me tell you, if you look at what this bill wants to achieve in short term and long term, it cannot be done together with election 2022. Why? Because this bill is expanding parliament by creating 70 additional constituencies. And by the way, these constituencies, other than trying to ensure that they provide space for equal or equitable political competition, they also guarantee the universal suffrage and fair representation in parliament, so that the areas that are today underrepresented, without affecting the protected constituency, like in Tana River, Lamu, they will not be affected. That's why if you wait for 2022, then it means that the provisions in law that establishes the 70 new constituencies, they shall not enjoy that immediately. They shall have to wait till the next general election. Right. The other thing that we cannot do away with and wait for 2022, this bill proposes the increment of funds. If you wait for 2022, then it means the provisions in law that shall have been passed at that time shall not apply. Kenyans have been waiting for years. They have been waiting for over 50 years to establish a governance structure that are pro the people. What we have today is pro the people, but it can be made better. Kenyans want it best, and the only way to achieve the best government structure is by amending this constitution today, not tomorrow. When you are hungry, Serfine, you don't say I'm hungry now, but I'll eat next week because I don't have 100 bob. You can
Fred,
go and borrow 100 bob.
Correct.
Thank you, Fred.
Very correct.
And of course, Kenyans deserve the best, we all agree, but it's BBI 8, that's the question, and that is why we're having this conversation to help you understand and make an informed decision. A referendum is coming, and you will be required as a Kenyan to vote for or against this particular bill. So you need to know what is in it for you, and this is why we are doing this right here this particular morning. Mheshimiwa, you've heard Fred there talking very passionately about the time is now. We can no longer prolong the suffering of Kenyans. I want you to tell me from where you sit, is the problem the constitution or the custodians of this constitution? Because yes, according to what all of you are sharing this morning, BBI may carry a very good promise for the country, but have we genuinely implemented the 2010 constitution to give us the confidence that BBI is going to pave a new way for Kenya? Because we may just replicate the same problem, failure to implement. Yes, we may have beautiful proposals on paper, but fail to implement them. What is your take on that?
Thank you, Serfine. I would like to add on this, that when we did the 2010 Constitution, that is the people's power. And people has voted yes for the 2010 Constitution because there was a bright future. And we had created 47 counties. And categorically, I would like to say all the 47 counties has a lot of advantages and resources, and to create the employment for our Kenyan brothers and sisters, so they can, once they finish their colleges, they have finished their Form 4s, we can create the jobs for them. And I'm telling you also that Building Bridges initiative has a lot of brighter future for Kenya also. And I'm telling Kenyans also, study it well, and there is a lot of resources is coming to the grassroots level. You see, first and foremost, we were at the mercy of governor. As a MCA, we don't have powers for the ward development. So sometimes, you see, if we don't favor the governor, there is no development coming. But in the BBI, you see, we will get the 5% of the resources for the development of the ward. And we will be not getting any cash in our hand, but for the projects, we will do the public participation. What is the requirement of the people of the ward? And that is the way we will forward the projects also for the development of the ward.
So you will not be directly in charge of the funds, that is what you're saying?
Yes, okay, whatever we will, we have the rights for the project. But I'm just saying we won't get any cash in hand. So that is not our job, but it is execution is the true executive power through the Nairobi City County. I would like to say also, right now we have a lot of unemployment throughout the country. There is no jobs, and so many industries are also closing. But if we pass this BBI and referendum, I think we will create more jobs, and people will be independent to create the jobs also, like plumbing, electricians, beauticians, so many jobs. You see, we don't depend on the government employment. But when we are coming out from the colleges, you can start earning your own. And our brothers and sisters are very, very innovative and very, very hardworking. The HR, human resource, is one of the best in our country.
I like the fact that you brought that up because, you know, the issue of unemployment is another cancer in this particular country. You'll be surprised as to how many dreams have been shattered just because of this issue of joblessness. And, you know, going forward, I mean, if this is going to bring a solution, then it is something that we should talk about. I just like to, you know, ask you something, Mheshimiwa, before you know, we move on to other matters. There has been a lot of talk about this process having a lot of sweeteners to bring MCAs on board, aside something that Fred also said earlier, the Ward Development Fund. Also recently we had talks of the car grant, which of course we'll talk about later, that sort of, you know, many termers, this is just a move to sweeten it for the MCAs to pass it. Do you have the same feeling as an MCA from where you sit? Do you feel like there's a lot of, you're being wooed to some direction?
Thank you,
just
Serfine.
To clear the air.
Thank you, Serfine. Let me tell you, this regarding about the car grant, the conversation was started in 2013. You see, the MPs was allocated the grant for the car grant, yeah, 7 million shilling. But we are on the grassroots level, and we are not getting any cash in our hand for the people of the ward, yeah. So this is a good move by the president and the handshake government, at least to give the car grant, and we can buy the car and we can mobilize, and we can see how we can mobilize our people and do more jobs for them. Sometimes, you see, we have to go in a boda, in a matatu. You see, not all MCAs are affording the car. But this was a good move by the leaders. At least we have something now to mobilize to the people and to work hard for the people.
Is it connected to the BBI process, Mheshimiwa?
I don't think so, Safina. That is a completely brainwashed.
Is it? That's
people
what
are brainwashed.
Saying. Is it connected?
We are corrupted by the giving the car grant. No, it is not. And again, also without car grant, I am assuring you this BBI will pass.
Whether
100%.
there is a grant or not,
whether it is a grant or not, yes.
Okay, well said.
Yes.
I also like both of you to comment on the car grant controversy. You know, it was a promise, and really, MCAs are very happy about this particular promise, and then a few days later, the SRC approved, and then we now started facing the hurdles. Just the other day, the Control of Budgets really wrote a letter querying a lot of issues about how practical this is going to be. First of all, funding it. Secondly, what is the legal backing of converting the car loan into a car grant? Apparently, we are not having such a legal provision. You're both legal minds. Probably you can shed light on this.
I'm very happy that you've come to the point that it's a conversion of a loan to a grant. And Mheshimiwa here has said that this is not a conversation that just started yesterday. This is a conversation that had been there since 2013. Because as representatives of the people, the members of County Assembly were feeling rather cheated, rather not given the same treatment with members of Parliament. Because members of Parliament are actually entitled to a car grant. So what the MCAs were saying from the word go, and Mheshimiwa is here, he's going to comment on that, is why can't we also, as representatives of the people at the county parliament, because the county assembly is in equivalent of the National Assembly at the national level, why are we also not getting the same treatment? So I think the conversation has been there, and then when the president issued the executive order in Sagana and said, you know, I think it's time now that we actualize this. Of course, there must be those what I would call you know, the implementational issues. They have to find a way of streamlining it, aligning it to the law and to the budget. But you realize that the 4.5 billion car loan was already in the budget. It had already been featured. So what the Controller of Budget is seeking is simply a clarification on how do we get to harmonize this. Actually, the term is how do we harmonize this. And again, when you look at the argument by SCRC is that this is transport facilitation. Because as an elected member of the county assembly, you need to move, you need to meet the people, you need to be in mashinani, okay? And if then you're not properly facilitated, then how would you be effective? So from where I sit, and as Mheshimiwa has said, of course, the timing may be suspicious.
Exactly my point. Yes. Because, yes, this is a conversation. We all agree it's a conversation that started way back. Yes. It didn't start yesterday.
Let me tell you why the time is not suspicious. But for it to be given the green light right now, that is why many people are asking, why now? Simon and Mheshimiwa have said this is a conversation that started in 2013. And therefore, it is expected that all state officers who qualify for that benefit. Remember, the National Assembly mirrors the County Assembly. Correct. Actually, they all legislate, they all represent, they all oversight. And therefore, it is one thing. So what the left hand gets, the right hand must get. That is discrimination number one. Number two, the provision of law in Article 230 provides that the SRC, in reviewing the benefits and remuneration of state officers, they shall apply the principle of fairness and equity. How come if the members of parliament are getting and the county assembly are not getting, are they providing or respecting the provision of fair and equity? Are they? They're not.
I'm following you.
Wait a minute, I'm coming there.
My question is, why take the file from the shelf now?
No.
Dust off
the
now.
File has not been taken from the shelf. The provision of law, again in Article 230, says SRC shall regularly. The constitutional wording there is regularly. They can even wake up tomorrow and say, this is regular, we have to do this regularly. So it is being done regularly. In fact, I'll fault them for failing to provide that benefit of transport facilitation to MCAs all this long. If I were the MCAs, I would have made a lot of noise because they need it. Number two, there's nothing wrong with providing it now. And by the way,
now when the bill is being
there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, this,
across the county.
Yes, by the way, Serfine, this is not a new allocation.
No, it is not.
It had been budgeted for before.
It is not, yeah.
Therefore, there's no additional funds that are going into provision of car grants to MCAs. No, it has been budgeted for. Remember the SRC chair, Lynn Mengich, before she made announcement, she consulted the Council of Governors, and the Council of Governors confirmed to her that indeed it will not affect our budget lines in any way. Those funds are available. They have been budgeted for. Lastly, the letter by control of budget is in order. Why? What is the function of control of budget in Article 2 to 8? First of all, before any approval is done, before any withdrawal is done, they have to approve.
Yes.
So they are within their constitutional mandate to ask and check. But I can assure you, the provisions of the BBI, with or without car grant, the people of Kenya have told their representative, the MCAs, that we want 35%, we want 5% of vote fund, we want women to be included, we want the youth to start getting jobs, we want the economy and shared prosperity. If you don't do that, then come 2022, utaona cha mtema kuni.
So car grant or not?
Car grant, no car grant. The people of Kenya want it. And that's why when we go to the, before you ask me, when we go to the referendum, you will see a totally different ballgame. Today, I said the opponents are becoming proponents. And this Tuesday, the proponents are becoming super proponents. Why? Because guys have just realized that the benefits of this bill outweigh its badness. And therefore, it will be prudent among themselves to ensure that this bill passes so that they start benefiting immediately, not in 2022, immediately.
As a matter of fact, there is a letter that the Control of Budget issued yesterday clarifying that her office is not becoming a hindrance to the car grant, and whatever she was doing, it was within her constitutional requirement to establish the process of harmonizing, and converting the loan from, or rather the grant from a loan.
But my concern, though, and that is why what I wanted to ask Fred.
Okay, I'll answer you.
What impact will this have on the taxpayer? A loan is supposed to be repaid with interest.
Well,
but then
those are some of the issues that she was raising.
A grant is just a grant. I mean,
I'll tell you.
Fred,
don't we need to look at the details?
I had the benefit of reading her letter to the SCRC Commission. Her issues were, you see, this loan, some of the MCAs had already actually started repaying. You could even find there are those who are very vigorous, they had probably even finished and they had paid with interest. So her inquiries were, how do we harmonize this? How do we go about an MCA, for example, who had taken the car loan and had already finished paying the loan plus interest? Okay, how do we go about that? So as Fred said, I don't foresee a situation whereby there will be any budgetary reallocation or allocation coming in. It's purely an issue of harmonization.
Right.
Harmonization is the term.
Let us avoid linking car grants to BBI. That is the discussion I want us to have in the next 1 second.
Correct.
The reason, this is the job of SRC, and they should do that regularly. It is their constitutional duty to do it regularly. Tomorrow, if they find it's not fitting, they'll have a way of fixing it. They must fix it, they have to fix it. They should have fixed it.
And they're
anyway.
doing it.
Number two, the budget allocations are done prior. They are planned for. There's the budget statement that is read. There's a public participation that is done. That was done, and allocations have been provided for. SRC made a request for explanation from the Council of Governors. They provided it. They said, yes, indeed, this, if converted, shall not affect our budget lines in any way. So who is that person who can now come and say that this is wrong? It is not wrong. Number two, the constitutional provision outweighs any other act or statute. The law requires that the members, or rather the state officers, must benefit from that. And if they're denied, then it is violating the provisions of constitution. And therefore, it is upon SRC to ensure that in regularizing, and by the way, that's why today, BBI has amended the provision of Article 230 and says not only just to regularly review, but also harmonize and regularize. So there are certain government officials or state officers who earn more than others. There are certain who get certain, benefits, and others don't get, even though they qualify as state officers by interpretation. What happens to that? BBI now says the SRC shall ensure that there is need to rationalize and regularize and harmonize.
I think,
therefore, the only thing that we need to look at is a solution in future. The solution in future is that SRC provision Article 230 has been amended to ensure that. But currently, SRC are still mandated to ensure that they regularly check on the benefits and remuneration. But not only that, to also apply the principle that shall ensure that money is fiscally sustainable. The county governors have said it is sustainable.
All right. Let's also allow Mheshimiwa to come into this, because this affects him directly as an MCA. I mean, the queries that have been raised by the control of budgets and, you know, talks that are going on about the funding and the legal aspect of this car grant. What do you have to say about it? Do you still foresee this as practical, the car grant, from where you sit?
Thank you, Serfine. Let me tell you, Council of Governors has approved. Again, Controller of Budget wrote the letter yesterday that there is no hindrance to give the car grants to the MCAs. So I don't think there is any challenges. And again, Kenya has a lot of resources. If we use it in the right direction for the people of Kenya, I'm telling you, there is enough for everybody. Each county has their own resources. Like, for example, we have 36 billion budget for the Nairobi County. You see? And again, through the BBI and through the referendum, we will get more budget for the development of Nairobi County. And that is the development for the wards also and for the people of Kenya. So I don't think the mentality and the brainwash was done by few politicians that we are bribed by the car grant to pass the BBI. It is not that. Again, also, up till now, we haven't received our car grant money, but we had already passed in Nairobi County, the BBI. So that is not true.
Okay,
Picture, it's a rumors. Because we are working for the Kenyans, and we want the future is very bright for the Kenya.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, well said. Simon, you had something?
That, if I may
go
comment
ahead,
on
go
that.
ahead.
I think people are unnecessarily suspicious about, and they're reading too much about the conversation since this debate came up and the president gave the executive order. People are unnecessarily reading too much from the correspondences between the COG, the SCRC, and of course the control of budget. But to realize that this is just the way government departments operate. The moment the president gave the executive order, and then the COG had to communicate to SCRC, and then the control of budget had to also write and seek a few clarifications here and there. I think people are just reading too much, which happens in politics. But I can confirm here now, as Fred and Mheshimiwa have said, that a county member of assembly, that's what you call the MCA, does the same roles as an MP. They legislate, they represent, okay? And finally they do what?
Oversight.
They oversight, okay? So then why would the MP then seem to be treated more preferentially than the MCA? The MCA. So, and again, as we said earlier, this is a debate that had been there since 2013. But again, also with the BBI in place, and that now that as a panel we have agreed that this whole process has to enjoy political goodwill. You also have to understand that all these processes have to align with the politics of the day. Okay. So probably what Fred is saying that no, we may not read too much. We will say it is legal, it's constitutional, but of course the political goodwill is also there.
So it is just a plus, yeah?
It's just a plus.
But let's look at, you know, there are legal queries about it, and you can tell me whether there is law that backs this. There was a move yesterday by a surgeon by the name Magare Gikenyi Benjamin. He moved to court, yes. He moved to court to actually petition the court to block the implementation of the car grant. What he's saying in his petition is that the move by SRC is illegal, irregular, and irrational. Magare is actually wanting SRC to clarify which law it used to approve the conversion of car loans into a car grant without public participation. I do not know whether there was public participation and whether it was relevant in this particular stage. And he also, you know, argues that the directive is discriminatory and not founded in law.
Serfine, because
is it illegal?
Because that matter is already in court.
That's sub judice.
I don't want to talk about it so that I don't go against the rules of sub judice. But I want to give the facts.
I see what you've done there. But
no, I want to give the facts. Public participation is a continuous process. Today, we are going to pass the bill without a public participation law or act. okay? But the constitution provisions, Article 10, 174, 203, 89, provides all these. They are there. Now, the issue here is, it is not the job of SRC to allocate. The job of SRC is to look at what is expected of them to ensure equity and fairness. They have identified that other state officers, by interpretation of Article 260, get same benefits. But the others who are MCAs don't get. And therefore, what they've said, you Council of Governors, do you realize that some of your members or some of your officers who are state officers, MCAs, don't enjoy this benefit while they should? They said, yes, we do realize, but we are working on it. What are you doing? We are checking in our budgets. If allows, then we can implement. Does it allow? They've been told yes. Control of budget. In Article 228 also says that the work of the control of budget is before any approval is withdrawal is done, they must seek approval. And therefore, they sought the approval of control of budget. Control of budget has written to them and said, I'm looking into it and I'll revert. However, I'm not trying to be a hindrance to this. It is a procedure. That procedure shall be effected. The matter in court, the court will give interpretation. In fact, it is good that people are going to court so that we can have jurisprudence around these things in the future. So that's okay. Today, we cannot argue lesser that the MCAs do not deserve. They deserve as state officers. They deserve as Kenyans. By the way, if you are an employer and you want to take people or your employees to do a certain task, you must facilitate them to do that task. The job of government today is to facilitate the government employees to achieve the objective of doing that task. The law requires that they should have benefits. One of the benefits is transport benefit. It was coming in the form of a loan. The person in charge of that has been innovative and creative, and he has said, or she has said, that indeed we can convert these into a benefit, now not a loan. Loan and transport facilitation are all benefits. So it's still within the benefit. I am confident that the courts will make a determination on that matter, and it will give a very good jurisprudence in the future so that it guides this country. But having said that, Serfine, let us look at this issue. I want to urge Kenyans who are watching this show today to run away from the debate that MCAs are being bribed. I've seen people saying it is bribery. I don't know. I mean, it's all those, it's a sweetener. What is wrong with the sweetener? When you are drinking tea and it is and the tea has got a lot of majani, what you do? You add sweetener to it because that is what will facilitate the drinking. Today, I can confidently say that with or without BBI, the MCAs as state officers deserve the benefit that belongs to them by the Constitution. They deserve it. The MCAs, without or with BBI, they deserve to be treated in a fair manner. The constitutional principle requires equity and equality and also fairness. Those are values that you cannot run away from. They must get them, and they ought to have gotten them long time ago. We are late.
Yeah, right. just to support what Fred is saying, I also don't want to get into the merits or demerits of Dr. Benjamin's matter now that it is before the courts of law. But again, I had a chance also to look at his court papers and his pleadings, and I'm feeling that I would want to see how he'll convince the court that the COG and the SCRC are not acting within the law, especially when you look at what the SCRC was arguing, that two things, affordability and physical sustainability. Because all this process had been delayed because there was a feeling that then there wasn't enough, there was an issue of affordability and physical sustainability of the car loan, of the car grant. And as Fred is saying again, why do you want to treat an MCA as a lesser representative of the people? While, again, you see, you give the MP a car grant, you give them CDF and all that. And that is why, with or without the car loan, MCAs are going to pass this bill. Because if you look at the fact that they are bringing in the issue of the Ward Development Fund.
Okay.
A very important component of devolution. That we just don't want to devolve money at the county headquarters, and then the governor can just sit, and if he doesn't like the way you smile and the way you laugh, then he'll not do grade your roads or even do pipe water in your ward. So this is a moment that Kenyans must seize, and I believe that this is what the MCAs have appreciated. So with or without the columns, this bill will see
Fred,
light of day.
I'm giving you a chance to add. I just want to update us on how far
the super is becoming super.
Oh, yeah, we are interested.
Those are your words.
The super is becoming super.
Yes,
I didn't say that.
I'm projecting around 30. Now,
no.
Just a quick one so that I allow you the hosts.
Yes.
With the risk of looking at those pleadings as they may be, you cannot usurp the role of SRC. It is their role to regularly harmonize and check on those remuneration. So what they have done is correct. So I'm also very interested to see how the court will look at that matter. But that one we'll look at it at that time.
All right.
Proceed and super the day.
Not supering anything. I'm just giving facts.
It's a terrific Tuesday,
I'm just giving facts here. So this morning we are receiving information about counties that are passing the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. So far, 26 counties. So I'd just like to add on to the list. I told you earlier about 12 counties had passed it as at the time we were going on air. But then as we were just having this conversation, we are receiving information that, it's going on already. Nyeri, Narok, Kakamega, Murang'a, Kitui County, Lamu, Mombasa, Nyamira, Taita Taveta, Garissa, and Nyandarua, did I say Nyandarua, and Machakos have already joined the list of those who passed the BBI bill.
The people of Kenya have spoken.
So 26 counties so far, and still counting. Fred is telling me 28. So we'll still be giving you more details as we continue, but that is what is happening across the counties as the bill is being debated and voted for. So far 26, according to information I have, is that 26 counties have passed the bill. Still on the list of no is Baringo County. So no county has been added onto that list. So we're still waiting for more. This week, we told you, is going to be a very fundamental week for the BBI initiative because counties are going to debate and decide on this bill, paving way for the next process as it was explained here by my panelists this morning. But then Fred, and all of you wanted to comment on this. Yours was a punguza mizigo approach on this. Critics of this initiative are terming it sort of, if I may, ongeza mizigo, because of the expanding of the executive, increasing allocation to counties, and sort of replicating these funds. What would you say about those concerns about how practical, financially speaking, this is going to be? Right now, as we talk about increasing allocation to counties, just the other day, COG was crying foul about delayed disbursement of funds, meaning even the 15%, we have not been faithful in making sure counties receive this 15%. So how are you going to confidently tell counties that now we can afford 35% or even more?
Now, Serfine, I like my arguments from the basis of facts, and I want to give you facts. Our proposal was themed around lowering the burden, political burden, economic burden, and social burden. The BBI is themed around inclusion, economy, and political inclusion, and social inclusion. When you look at the executive, there is no executive that has been expanded. None. And I'll explain to you. The introduction or taking government into the National Assembly provides for opportunity for members of parliament to become what we now call cabinet ministers. They shall only earn one salary of being a member of parliament. So they shall not be paid more other than allowances. Number two, the deputy prime ministers, the same. Number three, there is what we call economy and shared prosperity. BBI is executed around a projected economic growth that shall guarantee equitable economic opportunities for everyone, including hustlers. And therefore, it recognizes pastoralism as a livelihood that will bring money. Blue economy as a livelihood that brings money. A digital economy as a livelihood that brings money. You know what that means? It's basically expanding the tax base. And it means more Kenyans will now get opportunities because we're talking about equitable opportunity in economy, and they'll be paying taxes. Therefore, they shall fund that. Number two, we're talking about allocating 35% from 15%. Currently, let's go by what the recent collection, national collection, 1.7 trillion, 1.6 thereabouts. There's, even assuming we didn't collect any, that annual collection of 1.6, why do we have 85% at the national level while the people of Kenya are in the wards and the villages? And that's why BBI is saying, now let's move and remain with only 65, take 35% of the 100 collection to the counties. You have not interfered with anything. Things are status quo. You have only taken what has been there to the counties. Is it a burden? No. Number three, people have always said that it is expensive. This is going to be expensive. Who is going to pay? The provision that has been proposed to amend Article 96 by transferring the women into the county, in the Senate, does not change. They'll still earn the same salary. And by the way, the provision in law by amending Article 230 that now requires that SRC shall harmonize and regularize can also go to the extent that we have 600 members of parliament, for example, and then nothing stops the SRC from proposing that the 600 now can earn 300,000 or 200,000 or 400,000. That is the mandate of SRC. These amendments will be some of the cheapest in implementing, but at the face value they look expensive because they are providing for inclusion that people don't want. In this country, after every election, Serfine, we fight. Why do we fight? We fight because of resources, because we believe that when my tribesman become a president or becomes a president, they will follow him with the resources or how with the resources. That is a lie. And therefore, we should not even bother who becomes the president. How? By ensuring that a child in Todonyang in Turkana, a child in Kakelo Kokwanyo ward where I come from, a child in Nairobi Parklands ward where Mheshimiwa comes from, will enjoy same services, water, electricity, food, healthcare, the same way by providing services and resources. And we say it is a maxim in constitutional law that resources follow functions. The functions have moved to the people. Follow them with the resources. So we cannot say that it's expensive. In fact, it is going to be cheaper to avoid economic meltdown every 5 years. What is the cost of economic meltdown? Billions. What is the cost of death after every 5 years when you go for election? Billions. What is the cost of not having women included in the political sphere? Billions. What is the cost of not having youth getting jobs? We have seen insecurity. We have seen mugging. We have seen so many of them. We have seen people with master's degree sleeping in Uhuru Park. What is the cost of that? Is huge in billions. What is the cost of implementing a constitution? And you have the cost of death and all this. Let us be reasonable, and after being reasonable, let us be proactive, and after being proactive, let us be engaged, so that we love this country as one, and we ensure that we provide for the people of Kenya. All right, thank you so much. Gentlemen, time is really not on my side. I'm trying to capture as much as possible in this conversation. Before we wrap up, I'd just like to give Simon a chance to comment on something. There's been a lot of talk. This is just to switch gears a little bit, courtesy of time. There's been a lot of talk about the NASA friendship that sort of right now seems to be going sour. You're from the NC party. I want you to comment a little bit about where does this leave Musalia Mudavadi? Is he still waiting for endorsement, or is he the team that has, you know? His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi is waiting endorsement from nobody. The only endorsement that Honorable Musalia Mudavadi is expecting is from the people of Kenya through the ballot, because he is a tested and proven leader. And you can see that there has been this talk about NASA. Of course, legally, NASA has not yet disintegrated, and they have those agreements that they put at the Register of Political Parties. But then they say in Swahili that siasa sio kanisa. So you realize that there could be promises that were made, and if you realize that
there are people already behaving in a way that they may not want to meet their part of the bargain. So for His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi, he's expecting endorsement from nobody.
Okay.
And for Kenyans, I would want Kenyans to appreciate who Musalia Mudavadi is. And when we say that Musalia Mudavadi is a pair safe of hands, we mean it for those of us who have been close to him, because we've seen the way he leads the party, the way he communicates, the way he conducts himself, a leader who has not been caught up in any corruption scandal, a leader who is extremely humble despite his achievements. This is a gentleman who has served this nation as the vice president, as the deputy prime minister, yet very, very humble.
Right.
And this is a man who has a deep understanding of economics.
All right.
And he knows exactly how he is going to solve our debt issues going forward.
Simon, you know what we will do one of these days? Let's talk about that, the 2022 presidential bids and the promises that are there, the people that have come out. I don't know whether Thirdway has already fronted a candidate.
Thirdway Alliance, I'm inviting my brother here. I'm inviting him to come because they don't have a presidential candidate. As a matter of fact, it's only the ANC that has a flag bearer, a presidential flag bearer.
Thank you so much,
So I'm inviting him to come.
No, I'm not letting it go. I'm giving you all
that he can be part of the next government.
30 seconds for your final remarks.
I am the SG of the party.
As you give your final
Simon
remarks.
cannot purport to be the SG and the SG is here. That is
I was surprised.
And by the way,
that he was
I
speaking on your
invited
behalf
to
and
the
you're
party
right
because
here.
our party, I can see his ideologies are in tandem with the party. So I'll give you a membership number by the end of the show. Number two, I want to ask Kenyans that we are at a moment that we cannot waste. Before you give Mheshimiwa chance to speak, we are at a moment that we cannot waste. That moment is a moment to ensure that we act and guarantee our people as leaders, as individuals, as Kenyans, the opportunities that come with the constitutional amendment. Those opportunities are numerous, from economic development, political inclusion, social inclusion, and just by having a country that is united and one, a country that shall never go into war because of resources, a country that shall guarantee the young people, us and many out there, their place in politics, in economy, and in social life. So that we look at our country as a sphere that provides for the people and not a sphere that fights the people.
Right.
I urge them that today, as we complete the Super Tuesday and embark on the real work, because the work is just starting, we have that in mind.
Did you just become super as we sit here? But then, Mheshimiwa, your final words?
Thank you, Serfine. As I said, that this is a super Tuesday, and as we are doing the conversation, already 28 counties has passed. You can see the hope of the people for the country to grow. And I would like to say, let us work as a Kenyans, not as a tribalist. Yeah? Okay. Whoever has the best leadership will be elected in 2022. Yes, we are not saying that Kalonzo will be there, Mudavadi will be there, or Aita will be there, or Odinga will be there. No, the best person will be elected by the people of Kenya.
And
it is a total democracy in our country.
And that best person is none other than His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi. And I want to invite both of you after here for a cup of tea so that I can take you to His Excellency Musalia and we form a team that will form the next government.
My brother Simon, I say
you've grabbed your
best candidate will be elected by the people of Kenya.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yes.
And thank you so much, all of you, for creating time.
Thank you very much.
This has been News Check, a program where we always explore issues that are shaping the news. Now I believe you have a better understanding of the BBI bill. The breaking news this morning is that more than 24 counties have already given the bill a nod. This surpasses the constitutional threshold, now marking the way forward for the BBI bill. Of course, still more counties are continuing to debate and consider this bill, so throughout the day, we'll be giving you updates on how this is going to pan out and throughout the week as well. My name is Serfine Achieng Oma, and our sign language interpreter has been Simon Karoth, of course, assisted earlier by none other than Lensa Odingo. It's Lensa's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Lensa. Thank you so much for always being so good on the sign language interpretation. We've come to the end of this program. We are now going to be paving way for the Swahili version of the program. Okay. Nancy Okware will be taking up from there, so do stay for that. But from us, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for creating time.